Hi, it's Blair with the Craft Handmade, back with another quilting and answer video tip. Every Thursday I bring you a video tip to help us all be better quilters, and today we're talking about cleaning our sewing machine. Video outlining exactly how I clean my sewing machine, the tools I use, sort of the method that I go about doing it, and I do this on my sewing machine very frequently, and it has become a very quick process, and it can be for you too once you start doing this regularly. So I clean my sewing machine like this with just light daily sewing, maybe once a week. If I'm working on a big deadline and I have a lot of sewing to do, I may do it more frequently, like every other day, sometimes even every day if I'm free motion quilting a lot. And also changing my needle. I was told when I purchased my machine to change my sewing machine needle with every 6 hours of use. So probably I change it more like in between every project that I do, unless, again, I'm doing a lot of free motion quilting, and then I might change it a little more frequently. But other than that, what you see in this video is exactly how I clean my sewing machine. It works great. I hope you find some tips that you can use for your own sewing machine cleaning. But my biggest advice on this is to make it a habit. Keep it clean. Remind yourself to clean it. The supplies you need to clean your sewing machine are simple. I use a part of an old t-shirt cut into squares for a soft cloth, the brush that comes with your sewing machine, as well as the screwdriver or the key that loosens the screws around your sewing machine. You need some sewing machine oil. Usually some comes with your sewing machine. And I also use black pipe cleaners. These are just craft store pipe cleaners. I fold the top around into a loop and twist it on itself. These are great for getting inside of the sewing machine. So here's how I clean my sewing machine. So here's the machine I do almost all of my patchwork and free motion quilting on. I sew on this machine regularly, so I clean it regularly. Close to my sewing machine, I have this little toolbox, little caddy from the dollar store that I keep my tools in to clean. I also have a can with these lovely pipe cleaner thingies I'm going to tell you about. And I've got all of the other necessities that I need just for quick cleaning. So the first thing, I make sure the machine is turned off. You want to do all of this cleaning when the machine is turned off. There are usually screws down here at the throat plate, and you take those out. Usually there is a tool that's provided with your sewing machine. This is what mine is, that takes those screws out and set those aside. Some of you are going to have a top loading bobbin, some have a front loading bobbin, and mine happens to be loaded over here on the side. So when I remove the throat plate, everything is exposed at that point. So I take that off and move it aside. I also take off the presser foot just to give myself some more space to clean. And I also, at this point, will take the time to change my needle. So I'll go ahead and take this one out. And the thread, I just move that out of the way. It doesn't really matter. And I've also taken the bobbin case out, and I take the thread bobbin out of the bobbin case. So My favorite tool to use are these pipe cleaners. They're just plain old craft store pipe cleaners. I fold over the top and twist it just to make a little loop. And what's great about these, even though I'm not cleaning pipes, this like picks up all of the lint. So hopefully you can see what I am doing as I run it through. I want you to see the amount of lint that I just picked up. And so I'm gonna stick it down, clean all of this lint away. You can also use the other side too, but it really does sort of suck up the lint. It's pretty cool. The brush that you get with sewing machine tools also works just fine. If that's all you have, that's better than nothing at all. And I use that for years. I just find that the pipe cleaners work really well. So I'm getting all of the lint out from just under the throat plate, which I think I've gotten most of it. Also, I have clean around the feed dogs. I often get like thread sort of stuck in there. Clean around this area. And I also clean around where the needle goes in, because I do a lot of free motion quilting. So the needle is constantly going in and out of batting, which creates a lot of fuzz. So I just make sure all that's cleaned off. Then I go into my bobbin casing. Again, look at all that. That's just from one day of sewing. That's just one swipe in the bobbin case from one day of sewing. I mean, it's a lot of lint. It's going to make my machine very happy. So I'm going to clean all this out. And I just keep running it in there until I feel like I can't see any more of the lint and dust. The one thing I never use in my sewing machine is canned air, because think of it this way: when you're spraying canned air into the parts of the sewing machine housing and mechanical stuff that you can get to, it's just going to just push that dust further back into your machine. So we don't want to do that. So this works just as well. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think the sewing machine, this favorite thing in the world of mine, besides my family, the sewing machine is probably the cleanest thing in my house right now. Don't tell anybody. But I think that's true. All right. So then with my soft cloth, I wipe the throat plate. So it looks like all of that's pretty clean. So before I put everything back in there, I'm going to fasten the throat plate back on. You just spin those around and then tighten them up. Like that. So now, before I put my bobbin casing back in, I'm just going to put a little drop of oil right inside. And your manual should show you exactly where you need to do that. I'm also just going to run this around inside of my bobbin case, and look at all that just came out. It's crazy how much lint these things have. And then, you know, it's worth looking in your manual, putting the bobbin in. Sometimes it wants you to put it in so that it's like the thread's coming off clockwise. Sometimes it wants you to put it in so the thread's coming out counterclockwise. May not make a huge difference, but it might. So mine actually prefers that I put it in counterclockwise. My other one, my Bernina, prefers it the other way, believe it or not. But get it all ready to go back in. I put it in place and I close it up. And then, you know, just make sure that all this is clean around here. I put on a new needle. I keep a package of, gosh, I think there are 100 needles in here. This is Schmetz. This is the brand that I like. It's an 8012. I go through a ton of needles, but I'm going to put the needle in. Hopefully I won't have to dance too much to get this in here. Sometimes I do. There we go. And then I just tighten it. Okay. Then I normally keep my patchwork foot on there. I'm just going to clean that out with my pipe cleaner and all that, and then I'll put that back on. Make sure that's on there tightly. And the last thing I do is I take the pipe cleaner and I kind of just gently run it through the tension disc. This is very, very gently, and if you don't feel comfortable doing this, then don't do it. Just make sure that all of this is dust free. And then the very last thing I do is I give it oil. Now I have on my machine several points where I can put in a drop of oil. This is a semi-industrial machine, so it requires more oil than most home sewing machines. Some machines don't even want you to oil them or something like that. So if that's your machine, then, you know, do what your manual says. It's really important that you do just what your manual says. But for me, I can add in a drop of oil at each of these spots. And then I just make sure that it's nice and clean. And that's it. It's good to go. I haven't done anything with the adjustments. Everything should be exactly as it is. And I think if you do this regularly, you will definitely find a difference in your machine. You can find more tools, tips, patterns, and tutorials at my website, Wisecraft Handmade, and I will see you next week.